Sport, Arts and Culture Minister Nathi Mthethwa has defended his department's decision to spend 22 million rand on a flag project. Mthethwa appeared before the Sport, Arts and Culture Portfolio Committee yesterday following outrage by organizations such as Cosatu, who criticized the plan to spend that much of money on a national monument project flag. The minister says the initiative is not wasteful and is actually part of his department's mandate. For more on this, we're joined by Matthew Parks from Cosatu. Matthew, thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon. What particularly is the problem for you?
Sure, thanks. The problem is that this is taxpayers' money. It's workers' hard-earned taxes. Workers have been told to tighten their belt. In 2020, public servants, nurses and teachers, police officers, cleaners, security guards in government were not given an increase. Governments had, because of the fiscal crisis we are facing, had to cut back funding for key frontline service delivery institutions, from the Department of Health to the CCMA to investments in the economy to grow the industrial sector. We've had to be told that everyone must tighten their belt. Yet at the same time, and we appreciate the fiscal crisis government is facing, which also workers are facing, at the same time we see the Department of Arts and Culture, some bizarre, ill-thought-through moves as well. It makes sense to spend 22 million rand of taxpayers' money, not the minister's money, on a 100-meter flag monument, under the illusion that it's going to attract tourists. So for us, it's number one, a waste of taxpayers' money. Number two, it's not even going to achieve the objective which it claims to want to seek, which is to attract tourists or to build a sense of nationhood. If you want to attract tourists, well, then let's invest that 22 million rand into Robben Island, which is under severe pressure, is falling apart in many areas, and of course then we see declining tourist numbers. Let's invest in the security at Kruger Park or other natural reserves where rhinos and other species are highly endangered because of poaching. Those are the things we should be doing if we want to grow tourism, which you do agree we must grow the tourism industry. If you want to build a sense of support for the flag, which is Cosatu, we jealously support the flag as a national asset. We're all proud of it. Let's make sure that all schools have copies of the flags. Let's teach young people at schools, at universities about the flag. Let's encourage workers, factories, private citizens to have the flags displayed at their homes or their workplaces. But to build a 100-meter flag monument is just bizarre. It's not going to attract a single tourist. Why would a tourist come to South Africa to see how we waste money on bizarre projects? And really in the climate of belt tightening, when public servants and workers are really feeling the pinch of cuts to the budget, we should not be wasting a single cent on some bizarre political folly.
So you're not necessarily against the idea of creating nationalism or monumentizing democracy?
No, not at all. I mean, we all love the South African flag. I think we all can recall, I think it was 2 weeks or so before the 1994 elections, when the new flag was unveiled in it. It's an attractive flag. It represents the diversity of South Africa's history. It's a unifying flag. We've all rallied around it in the Rugby World Cup in '95, when Bafana won the CAF Cup, when we hosted the World Cup, on all those occasions. It really is symbolic of South Africa. But to waste money on it is only going to undermine the image of that flag, and it is not going to build anybody's support. If you want to rally around the flag, well, let's address the sanitation crisis at many of our schools in our townships and our rural areas. That's the way to build a sense of national cohesion. Let's tackle unemployment. Let's tackle corruption and wasteful expenditure in the state. But you're not going to do it by engaging in bizarre political adventures. If you want to get people to embrace a flag, then let's take it to our schools, our universities, our colleges. Let's take it to workplaces and say, people, this is what the flag stands for. Let's embrace it and so forth. But a 100-meter flag, I can only think of North Korea, which engages in those kind of political pageantries, and it doesn't attract tourists. Tourists come to South Africa to see Robben Island, to see the beach in Durban, to go to Kruger Park, etc. And that's where we need to invest money for, to attract tourists. But to create another white elephant which is going to fall apart doesn't make sense. We did a backup envelope breakdown of the costs to this 22 million rand, and it begs belief. They put aside 5 million rand to do a feasibility study. That's bizarre to say the least. We're not sure how would you need to spend 22 million rand on a monument when they're producing the flag itself. It only cost a few 100,000 rand. So again, it seems like government is just spending money like it's going out of business. It has no sense of humility or appreciation. This is taxpayers' money. Workers have worked hard to pay these taxes to government. They would rather have the money spend it on their families. But to see government wasting it on these political white elephants it really rubs salt in the wound of workers and taxpayers. And actually, to be honest with you, is going to encourage people to avoid paying taxes, because people will ask, why should I pay tax if government is going to waste it on silly little projects?
Listening to a local radio station on my way to work this morning, the DDG of that department noting that feasibility study cost the department 1.7 million rand, and this 22 million rand for the flag project is only an estimate. And when pressed on a breakdown exactly of, where this money is going to go, loath to answer, because this project rather is still going to the bidding process. However, organizations like yourselves, right, with all this outrage that we're feeling as South Africans or some sectors of society, what then? What options are available to you? What options are available to me?
Sure. So I think number one is what the conversation we're having right now, which is not just Cosatu has expressed opposition and outrage about this thing, the South African Communist Party. I think other political parties in Parliament too have expressed opposition to it. Many ordinary citizens across South Africa have been having this discussion for the past 2 weeks. We hope that government will listen. It doesn't appear that the Minister or the Department of Arts and Culture is listening, but we've raised it with Treasury, we've raised it with the Presidency. We hope they'll intervene, because it will not just be seen to be a blunder by the particular department or minister, but at the end of the day, if it happens, it'll be the President's baby, and it's going to reflect badly on the President and on Cabinet. And we must also say that this is the very same Department of Arts and Culture which in 2020, in the height of the lockdown, failed to pay thousands of artists and musicians the little amount of relief that was meant to be given to them of a few thousand rands each, because of mismanagement, incompetent systems, refusing to engage workers in the industry. Yet at the same time, they see no problem with spending 22 million on this bizarre little political adventure there. So we hope they will listen to us. And again, it's fine for the minister to defend something, but he also needs to take a step back to say, I hear trade unions, I hear civil society, political parties, his own alliance partners objecting. Perhaps he should reflect on that and say, look, maybe this thing doesn't make sense. Let's put it off the table. Let's have an engagement on better ways to honor the South African flag. And then I think he will then find very receptive partners in Cosatu, the Communist Party and other political parties in society, because I think 99% of South Africans will say, we want to honor the flag. We think these are the ways we can do it, through tapestries, through paintings and urban centers and so forth, at schools and so forth. He can engage the clothing and textile industry to say, how can he put the South African flag on locally produced clothes, etc. But that you'll find a useful engagement, but this kind of a stunt is just going to irritate the public at large.
This political pageantry that you speak of, some sectors of society have called for the axing of the Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture. Is this a call you reverberate?
Well, look, I think when you look at the ministers in cabinet, obviously the president is one who appoints in the day, but we will struggle to find what are the success of this department, of this ministry. I would not be able to name a single one to you. We had huge problems in 2020 when musicians couldn't get paid the money that was due to them in terms of the relief because of the lockdown, because they couldn't earn a salary or living when the economy was put under lockdown. Similar problems in the sporting sector. We see many of our sports sectors struggle to survive, struggle to get funds to invest in athletes, to go to the Olympics, other international competitions. We'll really struggle to say what are the success of this ministry. At the end of the day, it's up to the president to make that call. But we have said ourselves, we cannot see any justification for his being in cabinet. And to be honest, he's one of the worst performing ministers. At the end of the day, though, there's the president's call, but the president does need to reflect that if ministers don't perform, they can't deliver. If they're seen to be tone deaf to the public, it reflects on him. At the end of the day, the failures of cabinet will become the failures of the president, and he is the only one who can take action at the end of the day, and he should be seen to be doing so.
Matthew Parks, Deputy Parliamentary Coordinator for Cosatu, joining us from Cape Town. Thank you for availing yourself.